Protect your car with 3W Liners all-weather floor mats. Made from durable materials like TPE and rubber, our mats are designed to withstand rain, snow, and mud with deep grooves to trap dirt and liquids. For a custom fit and advanced protection, visit 3W Liners. That's the number 3, WLINERS.com today. At Acasis, innovation drives us. Since 2008, we've been creating cutting-edge technology products that make your life easier. With a focus on performance, design, and customer service, we're here to help you work smarter, not harder. Join us on our journey to simplify your world. Visit Acasis.com today. That's ACASIS.com today.
Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farms, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com. Unlock a world of convenience with Mully Box, your one-stop solution for personalized subscription boxes delivered right to your door. From gourmet snacks to unique finds, each box is tailored to your tastes. Experience the joy of surprises. Subscribe today at mullybox.com. That's MULLYBOX.com. We are Rogue Media Sports.
Well, it is. Yes, it is. It is the Cam Show on Rogue Media Sports Network. Live on YouTube every weekday, high noon Eastern time, 12 to 1, and then wherever you get your podcasts. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Scotty Swingler keeping us on the air today. And boy, happy to be doing it as we are just 6 days away from Christmas. I think I've gotten all the shopping done. Oh, I know, this time of year, it sneaks up on you. Oh, hope everyone's got their shopping done. We are going to be talking about the Patriots shopping today. In addition, we're going to be talking to Matt Barry, the Bruins Benders podcast, and then taking a kind of an outside look at an issue that is plaguing all the major professional sports right now and what the reasons are for the now highly publicized ratings declines. We will go over all that and more on this episode of The Cam Show. But honestly, the topic of the week has been the Patriots and their coaching situation. And honestly, guys, I did not expect this to be such a big talking point at this point in the season. Because, I mean, the writing is there. Like, the team stinks. We knew they were going to stink. We knew there was going to be a big-time learning curve with a rookie quarterback and a rookie head coach. And it was almost as if we went into the season as fans thinking like, well, we're not going to win many games, so you do need to see some intangible things. You need to see some improvement. You need to see some development from the quarterback. You need to see a direction for this team. And of those three things I just mentioned, you've only seen one. You've seen a development of a quarterback, and that's been great. But if you're a rookie head coach, you need to go back to your owner at the end of the season, the team's owner, sorry. You need to go to Robert Kraft's office at the end of the season and say, hey, like, here's what we did well. Here's some of the games we won that we probably wouldn't have last year or maybe shouldn't have won this year. Here's the direction that we're going, and here's how we got better throughout the season. And I don't think Jerod Mayo can go into Robert Kraft's office and give a check mark for any of those things. I don't think he can actually show you the direction that this team is going in. I don't think he can show you, the wins that they wouldn't have had last year. And I don't think he can show you how they got better throughout the season. And I think this is the most damning part about the Patriots season and their coach, to be specific, and their coaching job that they're getting there is they have had now for close to 10 weeks here, or 10, 12 weeks. They have had the development of their rookie quarterback. Like, he is going to be a star in this league. We're seeing it right now. And yet the team has not gotten any better. Nothing around him has gotten better. And that's a real kind of danger zone, red flag for this organization. Because as we see with the entire league now, it is all about, more than ever, this has always been a part of it, but more than ever in the league now, it's about drafting the right quarterback, getting the pieces around him in his rookie contract to make sure that you are competitive before you pay him. And you see it with teams all the time, teams that will tank for that quarterback, that will get a coach and offensive coordinator in place that are all but handpicked by the quarterback to make sure he's comfortable and getting weapons around them. Not building a great defense in a run game, but making sure he has receivers to go to on third down. The Patriots have gone the opposite of that with their last two quarterbacks. Well, really, I guess their last 3 or 4 quarterbacks that they've developed, but really the last 2 in recent memory. They have not gone out and gotten weapons for them. They have not had offensive-minded head coaches for them. And look what's happened. Well, you could argue, Cam, in 2021, they had Josh McDaniels as the OC, and it was obviously Mac's best year. And that's true. You had a good thing in place for, a Belichick defense, which was stout. They had a tremendous defense in 2021. They had good enough weapons. They did have a good run game because they had a good offensive line, and they had Josh McDaniels grooming a young quarterback. That was a perfect scenario. And now you look at it with Jerod Mayo, a guy who's never coached before, Alex Van Pelt, first time fully getting the reins here as the OC. DeMarcus Covington, never been a DC before, was a defensive line coach, which you don't normally see jump to defensive coordinator. And what you have is a complete mess. A complete mess. And Simmons made a good point the other day that I think really rings true, because you look at this team with a young quarterback and a team that really, has some good pieces there defensively that they re-signed, but all have stunk this year. It begs for a situation where you need to change the culture, get a good defense in there, and get a good offensive line and run game for your young quarterback. It's like almost as if the perfect guy for this would be Bill Belichick to be the head coach and Josh McDaniels to be the offensive coordinator. But you ran Bill out of town, and now this is what you got. And you didn't want to interview anybody for the job. This is what you get. Like, this is what you asked for as the organization, not the fans, but as the organization. This is what you asked for. So when I see the Crafts up there in their box and Jonathan being caught on live TV being like, this is terrible play calling, it's like, you put these guys in place. You put a head coach in place who had no contacts around the league because he hadn't played or coached anywhere else but New England. You guys are the ones who didn't interview anybody else and hired Elliott Wolf as the GM. Like, that's you guys putting it in place. If you, the Kraft family, want all the credit for that dynasty because you did put Belichick in place, then you also get the shit for what's coming right now, for putting a worse head coach in place. But you can't have it both ways. Or I guess in this scenario, you do have it both ways. You know what I mean? You can't have the best of both worlds there. You can get some credit for trading for Belichick, and I've always said that's still, a big time move, obviously. But you also have to take the shit for this season that Jerod Mayo is putting out there. And it's bad enough for what it is on the field. Just terrible personnel, no one that the quarterback can work with, one good player on each side of the ball. It's bad enough with that. But then off the field, it gets even worse. Because earlier this week, of course, we heard after the game on Sunday, Jerod Mayo completely throwing his offensive coordinator under the bus, right? 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. Why isn't Drake May running the ball? Hey, you said it, I didn't. Like, just clearly throwing Alex Van Pelt under the bus. And it's not surprising that we've gotten to this point, because he's come pretty close to, if not, you could argue, has thrown some of the staffers and some of his players under the bus already this season and called them out in the media this season. Again, things Belichick didn't do. Belichick would certainly be tough on his players, but did not ever call them out in the media. In fact, he said almost nothing to the media. Well, so far this week, we've already had Mayo throw his offensive coordinator under the bus. Why not throw one of his players under the bus too?
I think it was Nate Tice posted on Twitter that Kayshon Boutte isn't finishing all his routes, at least from what he's seen. Have you seen an issue with that at all with Kayshon this year?
I'm not going to talk about specific players. I think we all have to get better. For me, you talk about Boutte, it's get open and catch the ball. I mean, that's your job as a wide receiver. A receiver's in the title of your job description, and that's our expectation.
I mean, like, he couldn't even get through the sentence. He says, I'm not going to name specific players. Oh, but Kayshon Boutte needs to catch the ball. It's in his title. And look, again, in a vacuum, of course, I think we would all agree with that. Kayshon Boutte does need to catch the ball, right? He hasn't done enough of it. In fact, his drop, literally leads directly to an interception on Sunday. He bobbles it into a defender's hands. But it's, once again, this head coach not taking ownership. So for as much as, you might have hated it for years, Belichick would have said, we've all got to be better. Everyone's going to be better. Wasn't a good enough performance today. All 3 phases. And it was boring and sometimes insulting, and sometimes he was a real dick to the media. But from an organizational standpoint, it puts you in a better spot than throwing 2 guys under the bus in the same week. And of course, he's going to walk this back and say, that's not what I meant. And we've heard that game before. We've heard that this season. This is just a classic example of a guy who is in over his head. A guy who was never even a coordinator in the league. He was a position coach and he was a defensive play caller, but had not held a coordinator position, a real one, and definitely didn't hold any kind of coordinator position for any real length of time. And he's way in over his head to be the head coach of the New England Patriots. This is why I said it from the beginning. Why is suddenly the Patriots head coaching position an entry-level position? A guy who has not been a coordinator nor a head coach. It baffles me. And these are the results that you get. You get a guy who's not ready to be a head coach. And to be honest, a bunch of buffoons around him who have not held that high a position before either. Like, this was destined to be a mess. You don't build an NFL team with a bunch of rookies. You know, even when you suck, you add some veterans in there for a veteran presence and how to be a professional. You can't just ignore that for a coaching staff too. It has obviously gained traction these last few days here that the Patriots should probably make this a one and done situation, should probably move on from the head coach and go somewhere new. So, okay, where is that route? Where do you go with this? And I've been on the Ben Johnson train from the beginning, and I would love that offensive-minded head coach, a guy who's put together like the best offense in the league the last 2 years and has done it with Jared Goff, a good quarterback. I don't think anyone would say an elite great quarterback, but he's made Jared Goff look like an elite quarterback. And I would love to have a guy like that in there, but you also have to remember that he's also never been a head coach, right? And so these same things that we see Jerod Mayo getting overwhelmed with week after week after week, it could be the same thing with Ben Johnson. And so now the hot name is Mike Vrabel. And I love the Mike Vrabel name being thrown out there. And Tom Curran has said that Mike Vrabel would actually be interested in the job, which is raising some eyebrows around the league. Well, Greg Bedard, who said that Mayo would be on the hot seat last week before The Athletic kind of came back with the Diana Rossini report that that Mayo's been privately assured that he will be the coach next year. Now Bedard comes back to comment on this report about Mike Vrabel coaching the Patriots.
Vrabel is interested in coaching the Patriots. Have you heard anything similar to what Tommy Curran has heard about Mike Vrabel?
Yes, he would have an interest in coaching the New England Patriots. I think there's a pretty good chance that Josh McDaniels would come with him. That's my understanding. That's what I'm hearing.
If you are Robert Kraft, would you pull that trigger?
1,000%. What's the percentage that Jerod Mayo can, in time, take this team to a Super Bowl, if not win a championship? What are the chances that Mike Vrabel with Josh McDaniels can do the same thing? To me, it's clear.
I think Bedard can be an absolute airhead most of the time, but I think he's got the right thinking on this one for sure. And he is plugged in. So I don't doubt that report that he's also saying that Mike Vrabel would be interested. But as you know, it might be a shock to some. Christian Arcand of EEI, what a terrible take on this. But Mike Vrabel is going to be at the top of a lot of teams' lists this year. There's going to be 5 or 6 openings, and Mike Vrabel is going to be a hot commodity. Teams like New Orleans and Jacksonville, they will be looking at Mike Vrabel long and hard. Chicago will be looking at Mike Vrabel because he has not hit retread status yet, and he's been successful in this league. Has he went to a Super Bowl? No, he's not gone to a Super Bowl. He's obviously not won a Super Bowl, but he's 10 games over 500 or 9 games over 500 in a pretty good sample size. 4 or 5 years as the head coach in Tennessee. Had a good thing going with them. Had them as a number 1 seed. Had them in an AFC championship game. The end was not great, but there's plenty of problems that there's been with ownership and the GM in Tennessee. And Mike Vrabel did not have the player personnel power. He did not get to shop for the groceries. So I think there is, a kind of a silver lining to the ending of Mike Vrabel's tenure in Tennessee. This guy has proven to be a good NFL coach. He's been around a couple places, so he's got the contacts that Jerod Mayo did not. He has obviously got some Belichick in him. I mean, he played for Belichick for a long time. Belichick really made Vrabel who he was. I mean, he was a special teamer with the Steelers, like just kind of wasting away there. And he comes into New England and becomes one of the best linebackers in their history, and a pretty damn good tight end on the goal line. So there's Patriots roots there. There's success in the NFL there. And there's a critical part of this of Mike Vrabel does not take any shit. And that's what I like the most, because it's a more divisive train of thought than ever in the NFL, and across all sports, really. The NBA is what really started it. Do we need a kind of an old school guy like that has proven successful in the past, or do we need that players coach who's going to be warm and soft and cuddly with them? And there's success on either side, right? Like Pete Carroll was successful in the NFL. I don't think a lot of us saw that coming with the rah spirit and everything. But then again, Belichick was still pretty successful for a long time. And I think Andy Reid is somewhere there in between, the most successful coach right now. So I'm taking Vrabel and Josh McDaniels in a second, as a guy with a proven track record in the NFL who wants to coach here, wants to make this thing better, and an OC that has an illustrious history of developing quarterbacks. And mainly that's Tom Brady. and was the best OC that you had for the last quarterback you tried to develop. So I am taking that 11 times out of 10. And you know what? Swing for the fences. Maybe Brian Flores, for some reason, will take a DC job here and leave Minnesota, even though he's had kind of an interesting success story in Minnesota. I think that is another name that you would think about if it's not Vrabel, by the way. I know Brian Flores has some beef with the Patriots, but it was really with Belichick, right? Not with the Patriots. And it's a weird year for Minnesota. Their defense is actually the worst passing defense in the league, but they're the only team in the league with a turnover forced every game. And they're 12-1. So, and he proved that he had Miami on the right track as well, but he was just too hard on Tua, that little bitch. I think that would be a good one as well, as a guy who was putting a franchise in your division in the right direction just a few years ago, and has clearly, rehabbed his career, if you can even call it that. But the fact that Vrabel is interested in this dumpster fire, like, blank check this. Stop trying to cheap out on free agents and assistant coaches and head coaches. Open up the pocketbook, crafts, and make something like this happen. I know they won't do it because that will be admitting that they made a mistake. But you've got a guy out there who wants to coach you, who can make your team and your franchise better, who is going to be at the top of a lot of teams' lists. This is your last shot to get Mike Vrabel. And you know what? If that doesn't work and you still are in a mood to admit that you were wrong and want to put this thing right, there's a head coach at North Carolina who only has $1 million buyout before June 1st. Just saying. There are ways for the Patriots to make this right away. Okay, they've got the most cap space of anyone in the league, and they've got a good, successful coach out there who wants to take on this mess and coach this dumpster fire of a team. But it's up to the Crafts to make it right. And based on their track record the last year and a half versus the last 25 years, I don't love those odds. But if it's Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniels, I would do it in a second. The other thing I want to do in a second is talk to Matt Barry of the Bruins Benders podcast. Let's catch you up on the Bruins and a couple galvanizing wins. That's coming up next on The Cam Show.
Ready to bring your vision to life? At Small Rig, every idea, design, and product is inspired by you, the creator. With our industry-first under co-design mode and the Dream Rig free customization project, we unite with global creators to turn big dreams into reality. Whether it's a cage rig or mount, Small Rig's versatile gear is built to elevate your craft. Small Rig, where your creativity meets our innovation. Go to smallrig.com.
Want Want to turn your passion into profit? With Blogify, creating a blog has never been easier. Build, customize, and grow your site with powerful tools designed for beginners and pros alike. Start sharing your story today and watch your audience grow with Blogify. Download Blogify now in the App Store. Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Stay connected no matter where you are with eSIM-X. Say goodbye to expensive roaming charges and physical SIM cards. With access to over 200 global carriers, we make mobile connectivity seamless and affordable for travelers worldwide. Join the future of communication today at eSIMX.com. That's ESIMX.com.
Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farms, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com.
It is Matt Mosley, and it's the Obstructed View podcast, Rogue Media Network. I think they're learning that there's really no wonderful view of me. See, I feel like they think this feed's going to be really wonderful.
There must have been, no BS, like 20 scouts, 15 to 20 NBA scouts there to see him, and he was top 5.
When your old number wasn't working, I went through various channels to track you down. So unfortunately, you can never get away from me. But I'm happy. Man. I'm happy to have you today.
No, thanks for having me. And you know we always family, no matter where I'm at.
Welcome to a special edition of the Doomsday Podcast. Look at this. We got one of the great golfers in the world, certainly one of the great pass rushers in NFL history.
But he also had a vision for you. And so it was like you had the best of both worlds, right? You had somebody on you early, and then you had somebody who was maybe
more relaxed.
What were a couple of your biggest takeaways?
The person you referred to that I spoke with, I've spoken to some personnel people and general managers of the league to get some, independent, objective assessments of the players the Cowboys picked, and we'll go through that.
Has the general manager changed at all in the draft room?
Nope, it's been the same since I was here the last time.
It's the Cam Show. It's Rogue Media Sports Network. We've got Matt Barry of the Bruins Benders podcast, weekly spot on Thursdays. Matt, it's that time of year because Saturday is going to be like the best football watching day of the entire year. And what I will be doing is driving 6 hours and then going to an AHL game in Charlotte, North Carolina. So, I mean, just your perfect football viewing day. Let's turn it into getting shit-faced at a minor league hockey game, right? I mean, right?
Interesting swerve there. But
worst things you could do. I'm in a tough spot too because the Charlotte team is the Panthers AHL team, and obviously I fucking loathe the Panthers at this point. But their GM is one of my favorite Bruins ever, and that's Gregory Campbell, who might have spin zone conspiracy theory got them a Stanley Cup. So
wow,
how about that? Why can't he be running the Maine Mariners? Why has it got to be that piece of shit Danny Briere? I hate that guy.
Danny Briere, that was interesting. That Briere was a Bruins killer for years.
Oh my god,
really good player, like really one of those diminutive wingers that could really had speed and skill and killed the Bruins over and over.
I almost did this segment once. I maybe this should be a segment the next time you come on after Christmas, but I would love to put a team together of the all-time Bruins killers. I think he from my time he would definitely be on there. I think Holtby would be the goalie.
Holtby's
Thomas Vanek always scored against the Bruins.
His top line center. winger, whatever the hell he was. Yeah,
Find a spot for him, man.
He was unbelievable. Then there's you could put old guys like Mike McPhee with the Canadians was a big, Shane Corson. There were some guys back in the day that would kill the Bruins.
That just made their contract money against the Bruins.
Just really were just a real pain in the ass.
And there became that like every year, like in the 2010s, there was like a 5-year stretch where Vanek was just on the block every trade deadline. And I was just like, come and get him. Just get him. Please get him.
Just to avoid playing him.
Yes, if nothing else.
He was unbelievably good against the Bruins. It was a thing. It was weird.
But Briere was like kind of that. He fit that villain mold big time.
He did.
A punchable face.
A little bit of
always scored against them.
Yeah.
Philly.
But real talented, like could score and rat and frustrating and all those things. Yeah.
Oh, man, I could do a whole segment Danny Briere hate. So
I think you may have given us some podcast.
I think actually Smitty was talking about something around these lines the other day on one of the post games. Was like, there's just not like, you know what? It might have been talking about Philly and that diving from a few weeks ago with Mitchkov. And he was talking about those Montreal teams in the early 2010s with they go from Mikey Therrien to or Jacques Martin to Therrien, and they were the worst. And like maybe it's just I was a kid then, like I was a teenager. But there were villains between that Montreal team and Philadelphia. You even tried to manufacture it with Chicago, but that wasn't really there.
But the Montreal teams that around there, like Thomas Plekanec and Mike Camilleri and Mike Ribeiro, and there were guys who fit that mold. I mean, they were flopping all over the place, diving all over the place. The Kostitsyn brothers, like
oh god,
that Canadiens team that was really just so miserable to play against, and you hated them. Richard Zednik was on that team, and
Komisarek.
Komisarek was definitely a punchable face.
What a prick!
That guy was rough to play against, and he was just someone you just couldn't stand. And that those teams were much like the '80s Canadiens, not as talented, but the '80s Canadiens was similar. And that was sort of the culture there. It seems like the Canadiens have lost their way, and I think it's a bad thing for them. But they've lost their way a bunch. It's the French Canadian thing. Back then they get all the French Canadians. Like it was tilted the draft to be more regional with your players. So they would get all these great French Canadian players. Now they've gone away from that, and they don't have that same advantage. So now they've really struggled since with trying to get the right guys and the right identity, but that was the identity they had. That's how they played hockey there.
Yeah.
And those were all those guys. Yeah.
And it's almost like a weird respect for those teams. Like I guess isn't the right word, but those early 2010s teams, because they didn't have the talent. And the first, they had gone through some small pockets there, but the first time in a while that they were making the playoffs without really having talent, and just they were pests. They were good enough defensively. They had good goaltending for Price. They had a money power play.
Yeah,
and Carbonneau was running the team, and
2014 is a sneaky disappointing year that people don't really talk about with the Bruins. They're up 3-1 in that series, and they blow it. They get a goal by Glenn Murray in second trip around the sun with Glenn Murray, and he scores a goal because I think it was Zednik or Kovalev, one of those two guys.
Kovalev
and Zednik. Zednik gets hit on the hand and starts this thing at the blue line, and Murray walks in and scores. And then they're up 3-1. They're heading back to Boston. They have two games at home, and they lose the series. And that was the last time they played in the playoffs.
And that buries, that kind of buries an era there too, which is I don't know, too bad.
It did. That ended sort of. Now it's been Toronto, Florida. Toronto for a spell, and now Florida, and you're in that cycle now. And as long as those two teams are better than Montreal, you really don't have much of a chance to play them in the playoffs, which is sad, which is a reason why I don't love this format, because you're hooked into like one or two of the better teams. And if you're good for an extended period, those are the matchups. Now, I can see why it's beneficial that you build up a hatred year to year. I get that. But I also think you need to have some variety.
On paper, it looked good, but now, like to your point, in this tanking era, like I mean, Buffalo and Montreal and Ottawa have not been good for a fucking decade. Like you're not, you know what I mean? And there's no sign of it getting better. Even Detroit can't get back in there. It's like you're just going to hamstring yourself to. I
mean, other than the bubble year where Montreal made that run, they've been that 14 was last year. You know, it was, but yeah, it's too bad because that rivalry is, you know, I want to say it's dead, but it's on life support.
Yeah,
it's too bad.
It really sucks.
Sports, maybe. Yeah, it was just terrific.
Yeah, and we talked about this a few visits ago because you were talking about, you know, the late 80s. That was every year. And that was, and they were both very good. Obviously, you know, the Canadiens won a couple cups, the Bruins were in a couple finals. And from my childhood, like I just mentioned, like that was kind of the rebirth of it. And it was legit. Like that pot was boiling, man. That 2011 series is all time. But yeah, it's just not that way anymore.
No.
Instead, we are living firmly in the Sacco era. And not for the first time this year, we got Bruins galvanizing win of the year ? On Saturday against Vancouver. But for the first time this year, after we asked that galvanizing win of the year, they actually won the next game and didn't get embarrassed. And it was a heck of a comeback in Calgary. So last time we talked, we were about to witness the second game of the road trip going down and losing 13-2 on aggregate in those first two games. Since then, couple of Bruins wins. They face obviously a great team in Edmonton tonight. But how impressed were you just after that win in Vancouver, which was great minute 1-60, to have that comeback against Calgary in a game they didn't play too well the first 30 minutes or so?
Well, it's interesting because Vancouver's better than Calgary, but I'm almost more impressed by the Calgary thing just because, you know, you're on day 4 of the trip. You know, you're game 4 of the trip. You won that game in Vancouver, who's not a great home team. So let's dial it back a little bit on that win. Like it was a really good 60-minute effort for the most part. So I give them that. But Vancouver's had struggles at home for whatever reason. And then the Calgary game is one of those games where it's going to be kind of let down. You had a couple days in between. You're coming into Calgary. They play fairly well at home. Their goaltender's been good. And then you fall behind 3-1. And then after 2, you think this is going to be another 5-1 loss or whatever.
Exactly.
You're going to mail it in and it's going to look bad. And then you move on. But they showed for the first time this season, in my opinion, a real resiliency and a real motivation to come back and win that has been the staple the last at least couple of years with that team, where they showed a lot of resiliency and came back a lot of different times. And I thought that obviously the big goal was by McLaughlin, like on his belly, greasy goal. It was nice to see a guy like him score that goal to tie the game. And then Pastrnak gets the, you know, overtime winner. That's what he's paid to do. And it was, I thought it was a really, let's put it this way. It doesn't happen with Montgomery here and all that stage of Montgomery kind of being 1 foot out the door and the vibe being really at an low. I mean, I just still believe that Montgomery quit a bit on the team. I really do. Like, it's just his body language, what he was saying and everything. And I think the team took that on and just kind of knew it was inevitable. He was gone because I think Sacco's made some changes, you know, subtle, but I think for the most part, they're just playing harder and playing more focused hockey. Like that's just what happens in a coaching change. Now we have to determine whether or not that's Sacco or not. I don't know how much that is Sacco. I really don't. Like, is it just the new guy and they have no other choice but to play well now? There's no other excuse. Like, you got to get it right. So, but I thought that this was a real show of resiliency. Their best players stepped up, which has been in the past, what has happened. And, you know, they get the win. And it's, you know, the only problem is if they go in and lose 7-1 in Edmonton tonight, then, you know, it's all kind
which is possible.
It is. It's 100%
absolutely.
Yeah, I'll say this, like, you know, Sacco did have a couple of games where they played good teams and got throttled.
Yep.
So they still haven't beaten like a top elite echelon team or even competed. Forget winning. An overtime loss tonight would be fine for me. Fine. Or a shootout loss or whatever would be fine. Or a 1-goal loss would be fine. It would show that they're competing against them. That would make me feel a little bit better. So I still need to see that thing. And hopefully tonight we see it's the last game of the trip. You're thinking about going home, and Buffalo's coming up with 12 straight losses or whatever it is, Saturday. And, I just hope that we see more competitive spirit in a better game from them against a really good team.
Yeah, and that's what kind of makes this game tonight weirdly, I think, pretty crucial. We've talked about it. They're probably gonna fall ass backwards into the playoffs, but if you win this game, I know Tampa's got a ton of games at hand, but you not only separate yourself there, but it is that momentum thing. You start this road trip 0-2. 13-2, and you have a chance to turn this all around here, have a winning trip, go back with an easy game against Buffalo. I mean, should be. And then you're at Christmas, and you got a couple of days, and then you're facing Columbus, I think, back-to-back nights. So you've got kind of a soft landing spot going into the new year after this trip. But I mean, you said it. How impressive it was. It goes down to 3-1, and kind of a hard luck goal. After you cut it to 2-1 and you were carrying the play. And I just go back to that context of Tuesday night, Calgary, old barn, rickety barn. It's probably fucking 2 degrees outside. There's no energy in that building. Like you can't hear anything coming over the TV. No. And it's just like such an easy place to just quit and just like be miserable. And we've seen it how many times? I mean, it's same thing with Seattle. They cut it to 2-1. You're like, you got to score the next goal. You don't. It becomes 5-1 like that. And I think we were all thinking that. But you kind of said it in there too. What I really liked was they don't have the talent still, but they're just playing more focused. And it feels like we were saying that they needed that. Montgomery was not giving them that. So no, you don't solve all the issues of this team and this organization by firing Jim Montgomery, but you at least put them in a better headspace, which is clearly where they've been.
They have, with Sacco, they've allowed 2 less high danger chances for the opponent per game. So that's one thing. They've tightened it up defensively. So that's a good thing. That has nothing to do with goaltending. It has nothing to do with offense. It's just purely like, what are we allowing by the opponent? So that's a good sign. They also have one more high danger chance for. So that becomes a 4 danger chance spread now. It's 11-7.
That's wins and losses.
That's wins and losses. Yeah. And that's a good sign of a team that's just more detailed, paying attention to more detail and getting more pucks to the net. And also everything's to the outside, defensively for the opponent. So those are good things. And it'll make the goaltending better, obviously. If you get less good chances, that'll appease the goaltending some, which still needs to be better, obviously.
Swayman's had some big saves the last 2 games.
I thought Swayman was good in the third period when they needed it.
Yeah,
that's what they need him to be. Up until that time, he was fine. But you mentioned that the tough luck goal by Lomberg is just directed right to him. Nothing you can do about that. In the goal early on in the second period there, 54 seconds in, that's just one of those goals too. So I thought he was fine, and I thought he was really good in the third, which is what you need. So those are the things that you kind of look at and say, okay, well, that's different. The high danger thing is different because the Bruins historically, especially recently, have been a stingy defense. And they don't give up a ton of shots. Typically, they don't give up a ton of high danger chances. Typically, good penalty killing team, all those good things. And they've been better at those. So that's a good sign going forward. Offense is always going to be a problem. It's just going to be here and there. And that's it. It's just going to be an issue.
Just keep Mark McLaughlin in Boston, and you'll be fine.
The other thing about McLaughlin is that once he gets to 10 games, he has to be passed through waivers. So he's at game 8. So with Oliver Wahlstrom hanging in, you're going to see McLaughlin go down, even though he scored a couple of goals. Again, he has 6 goals in 22 games in his career. So he's going to be sent down to avoid the waiver thing, at least for the time being. And I think you'll see Wahlstrom draw in. Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind like the Wahlstrom pickup. I obviously not expecting a ton, but this is a kid who was picked in the top 15 of the draft.
Yeah.
Like big kid, offense. There's upside there, right? There's certainly potential there. Would love to see him get a shot, but I don't like taking goal scorers out of the lineup for this team.
Yeah.
But looking at this team under Sacco, has there been a player or players that you've been like, this guy has really benefited from, Sacco lighting a fire under this team's ass, or at least getting the focus back there?
I would say that McAvoy's been better. I always thought there was a thing with McAvoy and Montgomery, and I don't know. I don't think it's a thing where they didn't get along. I think it's a thing where it seemed as though his game was different with Montgomery than it was with Cassidy and Sacco. I can't put my finger on it. I don't know if Montgomery was just on him about doing more and he was getting out of his comfort zone. I don't know. But to me, there was something there about McAvoy and his game with Montgomery. It's been better again with Sacco. And you know what? Jimmy Murphy said this on his podcast recently, that he thought David Pastrnak right now is one of maybe their hardest working player now. He's playing much harder. There could be some truth to that, and I don't know what that is, if he's just getting healthier, because I think there was a health issue there. Or just trying to be more focused, trying to pay more attention to details, hearing a lot of stuff about him. Maybe that's it. So I think those two guys, I mean, your best players have to play well. Marchand's been better, but I think, again, that's a health thing. I don't know if that's Sacco. Morgan Geeky's been good. So I don't know if that's a Sacco thing. I don't know. He's on the top line doing much better and actually producing, which is a blessing. I don't know how long you can count on it, but ever since that guy on X ripped him about being on the first line and he responded, he has been out since. So I don't know what happened there, but so there's a few there. But again, I think it's just a team. One guy I'm concerned about is Brandon Carlo. I think he's been really bad,
losing trade value.
Yeah, and I don't know what his issue is. They're real thin on right defense though. So he needs to be better. I project them in the trade before the trade deadline to get some right shot D help. I think they will do that. And Lindholm hasn't been in there, Hampus. So when he comes back, that'll solidify that too.
The Pastrnak thing is interesting because by no means do I think he's having a great year. And he's been frustrating at times, but I do. It's almost like the Drake May thing. It's just there is a lot on his plate when there's just not offensive talent around him and there's no creators around him. We talked about that in the offseason. It's just there is a lot on the guy's plate. But I mean, that was a vintage Pastrnak moment. One shot in overtime, rips it, absolute laser.
Mm-hmm.
Last thing I want to ask before we get you out of here. It's been there is a scorching hot goal scorer in the Bruins organization. He's not playing in Boston. He's playing down in beautiful Providence, Rhode Island at the Dunk. Matt Patra is heating up big time. I mean, it's like what, a 6 or 7 game goal streak?
Seven goal streak, 7 game streak now. Yeah.
Are we going to see Patra soon?
No, I don't think so. And the reason why I think Ryan Muginel, the coach at Providence, even said this. They're really counting on this to be a real development stage for him. And I really don't think unless they have a rash of a couple of injuries and they really need him, I don't think they're going to do that to him again. I think that's part of the reason why they got Wahlstrom, just to shore up some of that. And I think you're going to see Patra down there at least till the Four Nations tournament. I really do. I think you're going to see him there another couple of months. And you know what? I agree with it because I think he never got this in what he needed. The first year he couldn't because of the rules. And then last year they couldn't because they needed him, to play some center and some wing. So now is a good time, I think, where the lineup's been a little bit better. It's a little more consistent. They have Wahlstrom. They have Johnson. If they have to throw him in there, McLaughlin's done okay. I think it's still a good time now to just keep Patra down there and just keep letting him dominate, build confidence, learn more about the game, the pro game. He's done a pretty good. He connected with Merkulov last night with a great goal cross crease. It helps Merkulov. It helps Lysell. If they can all kind of play together, get to know each other. That's what I've been saying from the beginning. Send them all down there and put them all on the same line. Just have them keep playing together. So I agree with it. I said it before they sent him that he should go down. And we talked about that in the podcast. Like, he should go down. And I don't think you should get too excited about to the fact where you bring him right back up. I think you just keep him down there and keep letting him do this, and just building up some confidence and getting some real look, every good forward they've had in the last 10, 12, 15 years has spent at least a year in Providence. Krejci, Bergeron, DeBrusk, Pasternak, everybody. So the forwards tend to need it more than defense. McAvoy didn't do that. Carlo barely did that. But forwards need that, and especially slight forwards that are young. He's 20, just turned 20. So I keep him down there for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, as much as I would love to see him up, it's like, even at the end of the day, he's not making you a 1 or a 2 seed. It's not like this is a tanking situation, but it's like this might as well have him develop there. So anyway, Matt Barrie, Bruins Benders podcast, new episode out today.
Yeah, just came out this morning. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. And we've got some post games coming up, maybe some guest appearances on these post games coming up.
Here there's the major figure in the Boston sports scene going to be on December 23rd.
Oh shit, I thought it was supposed to be me.
Oh, it is you. Wait a minute.
December 23rd. Was that? Is that Sunday?
That is
Monday.
Monday night.
I will be there.
Capitals. But... Yeah, Capitals at home. Should be a good game. And we'll do the post game with Cam himself. It'll be lots of fun. Our live studio audience will be humming.
T-Boz, baby.
T-Boz, all the commenters will be on there live on YouTube. Yeah, it's tons of fun. Everybody should check it out. And on the 23rd, special guest appearance. Almost a tryout of sorts, because Smitty's out for a week. So, but it'll be fun. It'll be fun to get another perspective on there, and we have a good time. So, bring your bourbon.
I'm gonna have to. I was gonna say I gotta have some drinks with me. Yeah. I gotta dig out my Wareham Gateman sweatshirt to counteract Smitty's Born Braves one. So we're gonna have to spark a rivalry there.
Yeah,
but
anyway. Wareham is where I practically grew up in the Summers Onset.
Okay.
Loved. I've been to many Gatemen and all sorts of games, and love it there. Yeah.
Wareham, is it the Cape?
They say it's not. It's not over the bridge, but it was the Cape to me.
Yes.
It's the Cape to me.
Hell yes. That'll be topic number 1 after the Capitals game, I'm sure. Matt Barrie, the Bruins Benders podcast, thank you so much. We'll check in with you in a couple weeks, because we're not going to do a show next Thursday, if that's okay. And you can see me on the Bruins Benders post game on Monday night to get your fix in the meantime. Coming up on the Cam Show, we're going to talk ratings, baby. That's next.
Unlock your full potential with Onnit, your go-to for premium supplements, fitness gear, and wellness essentials. Whether you're training hard, recovering faster, or just looking to feel your best, Onnit has the tools you need to perform at your peak. Visit Onnit, that's ONNIT.com, and elevate your mind, body, and spirit today. Join the Daily High Club, the premier destination for glass water pipes, vaporizers, and accessories. Since 2015, we've sold over 1 million quality products and teamed up with legends like Snoop Dogg and Tommy Chong. Ready to elevate your smoking game? Visit dailyhighclub.com for our El Primo subscription box or shop unique pieces today. Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at Bill.com. Cleanse your body of accumulated toxins and embark on your wellness journey at your own pace. At Global Healing, we provide premium supplements to help your body heal naturally. Combine that with OrganicHemp.com's top quality CBD for ultimate balance. Start your healing journey today at GlobalHealing.com and OrganicHemp.com.
relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness, brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious. Find your blend at hempdelicious.com.
Get ready for epic savings at Best Buy. Right now, you can save up to $700 on select Alienware and Dell gaming products. Perfect for leveling up your gaming experience. Plus, grab the latest Android Google Pixel at an unbeatable price. Don't miss these incredible deals. Shop now at bestbuy.com and upgrade your tech today.
We've got all these transfer portal stats and what Dion did and what Fritz has done. I mean, that's the deal, man. That's the game that's being played nowadays.
Maybe a little bit unknown at quarterback. I mean, unknown to the rest of the world, but, you know, he dove into the portal and got a guy who is super, super athletic.
South Dakota State's really good. Give us a little bit of breakdown about what they can do and what Oklahoma State needs to be worried about.
Look at that form right there. I need to say nothing else about this because I found one.
It is the Cam Show on Rogue Media Sports Network. The ratings have been through the roof, which is more than I could say about, well, most of the professional sports. MLB, NBA, NHL for sure, and now even the NFL. The ratings are down. People are wondering, like, what the hell this is. And, of course, what you'll see on social media all the time, inevitably, is they went woke. Go woke, go broke. And that's let's be clear. I doubt that is it. In fact, I sincerely doubt that is it. Although it is kind of funny that all the other leagues are going down, college football is going up. Maybe there's something to that. But I see this, we're seeing a think piece and stories every day on like the NBA specifically, but the NFL is starting to see it too. These ratings are just plummeting. And I think there's no one particular answer to this, but I would love to know what the answers are and what the non-answers are of what is going wrong with these leagues and these broadcasts as to how it's getting this way. But it doesn't seem to be any one answer. Personally, I think more, and this stretches across all sports, but specifically the NFL and the NBA, is there is a product issue. And I'm not saying that the athletes aren't as great as they've ever been, but you've got half the teams in the league that are like literally not trying to win and to be elite, right? Like there's in the NBA and in the NFL, both teams, or NBA's got 30 teams, NFL 32. There's probably going into a year at best 6 or 8 teams that can win a title at best. And those teams that are not of those 6 or 8 or are not number 9 or 10 or 11 of terms of like, hey, next year we're going to be in contention. They don't have interest in being great teams. So you see that in like the 1 o'clock slate on NFL Sundays. It's garbage, and it's been garbage all season long. And like the typical Wednesday night NBA doubleheader on ESPN, it's like, who are you tuning in for? Like, I don't know. Are the Pelicans got Zion? Are they going to be a good team this year? Are they going to be competing for a title? And then halfway through the year, they suck, and you've got a bunch of primetime games for them. And it's just a mess, and it's across all leagues. I want to bring in Scotty if we can here, if Scotty is available, because Scotty takes in a lot of sports. I mean, at this point, Scotty, you might take in more pro sports than I do, outside of Boston for sure. So I'm like, I'm sure you're seeing this. Like, it's popped up all over the place. Like, what is your simplest answer of why the ratings aren't where they should?
Well, I'm interested you brought up the NFL, because I feel like everything I've read about the NFL says it's at least the same or maybe even marginally improved. So but the NBA is like staggering.
That's the tough one to do.
Dropping fast, right?
Yeah.
And I wonder how you feel about this, Cam. What I've read and seen some speculation about is star-driven league, right? Like, and what happens when not only do you have this previous generation of stars, LeBron and Steph, playing far into their twilight years, but in addition, your current best players in the NBA are not American players. It's the Jokic and the Luka Doncic and the Giannis, and have we failed to anoint the next successor to Bird and Magic, Michael, Kobe and Shaq, LeBron, like Steph? Have we failed to find that next superstar? And I do wonder how much that has to do with it.
I think that's absolutely a huge part of it. And like, because we look at the guys who are marketable in the league today, like, I mean, Jason Tatum is the best player on the best team. Is he the face of the NBA? Of course not. And he does not have that personality to drive that. And he's not appointment viewing. I think Jason Tatum's a great player. I think he's underrated by a lot of people, but he's not appointment viewing. And like, who is? I mean, Jokic is a ton of fun to watch, a ton of fun. But I mean, it sounds so East Coast bias, but it's like when you play for Denver, that does not become appointment viewing. I mean, you saw it for years, Scotty, with Dirk.
I was about to say, to me, I mean, I'm a Mavs fan, but I think Luka's the most fun player to watch in the NBA right now. But it's the same problem. Like, people on the East Coast aren't tuning into Dallas Mavs games. Like, that's just not.
It's what it is. I mean, that's why the LeBron in Cleveland was a revelation, right?
Yeah.
And obviously had his best like statistical years in Miami, which also helps. But I think it's interesting to go back to like the empty pockets of NBA history. And the mid to late 70s was the worst one, where they had finally kind of gained some momentum from Celtics Lakers, late 60s, still a new league. Then you had some Kareem teams in the early 70s. And then it falls flat on its face. And then you need Bird and Magic to save it. And then that goes right into Jordan.
Yep.
And those Kobe, Shaq, Lakers teams is an interesting point in NBA history, because I think history will show that there was kind of a lull there, even though those teams were terrific. And it looked like Kobe was the next guy, and clearly Shaq was the guy at the time. And then LeBron comes in. And it's different. And LeBron is appointment viewing, the likes of which we had never seen in the NBA outside of Michael Jordan, like truly, for 20 years. Like, if LeBron was on a better team now and was in the finals, like, they would still be smashing records, and the league would be as popular as it's ever been. But it's what's funny is what's probably taking down the NBA a little bit is what's making it in a weird way more popular than ever. And that is, and I don't even mean this as an insult, it is a TikTok league. Like, it lends itself so much to short form clips.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think I could keep up with the NBA by scrolling through my Twitter in the morning, not watching the ESPN doubleheader or the TNT games or inside the NBA.
Well, and you can answer this for me, Cam, because I am so not in these circles. Part of what the NBA got right with Jordan, and I would even say LeBron to an extent, is cultural influence, like shoe game and style, and even LeBron doing like the barbershop, series of conversations. And I know there's so many more than ever. You have athletes that have podcasts and shows on YouTube and all these, Draymond being a pretty popular one at the moment. But I don't know what the piece that's missing is, but I don't see the NBA having as much influence on culture outside of sports as I remember it having in the past. And I don't know that I can articulate why, but I just wonder out loud, like where whether it was Nike and shoes in the 90s and early 2000s, like where is the NBA currently influencing culture outside of just basketball? And that's where, too, I wonder, it's not so much go woke, get broke.
Yeah.
But is it not true that the NBA's most maybe notable cultural kind of impact in the last 4 or 5 years has been political rather than style, social, pop culture, right?
I think that's actually a really good way to put it. I mean, to be totally honest with you, I think that's because there are plenty of people that don't really care that the NBA does these, political statements or social justice statements as they were. But when you see them just time after time, like it kind of gets exhausting to the normal fan. They're just like, man, I do want to just watch you guys play basketball. And if that makes me a bad person, so fucking be it. But it's the NBA. I want to see people play basketball. And like that does great on people. And to your point, it's substituting something that is almost like a cultural universal, right? Of shoes and music and tracksuits and, like commercials.
Exactly right.
Like all of those things. It's like we can get behind, everyone can, because it's the mark of cool. Whereas, the social justice messages, while great for so many people, it's like that's not the mark for cool. I mean, it's just not. And the star thing is big. To go back to that real quick before we wrap this up, because like the NBA is as un-American as ever in terms of its best players are not from America. And that is something that's tough for, I think, some of the U.S. to get behind. It's not tough for Mavs fans to get behind Luka Doncic because it's their guy. In Denver with Jokic, it's the same thing. But it might be tougher for, someone from South Dakota to get to be a Nikola Jokic person because they don't see Nikola Jokic on commercials and, not repping his city of Chicago or New York. Or
and what we love about stars is when they're relatable. And it's just hard to relate to someone who grew up in Eastern Europe. Like I don't have that same context. And then Cam, last thought, I know we're over on time here, but maybe it's stars, maybe it's pop culture, cultural influence. The third thing I just wonder out loud, pretty much my whole life, people have said, oh, NBA's boring basketball because it's so offensive and there's no defense. And most of that's been garbage. I'll just be honest. Most of those people, I'm like, you just don't watch, because playoff NBA basketball to me is still the best basketball in the world. But the game has gotten so formulaic with, the analytics and the 3-point shooting. And it really, you can turn on a basketball game for 20 minutes and see nothing but dudes just jacking up threes from the corner. And I wonder for the casual fan if that hasn't gotten really mundane.
No doubt.
Just wondering out loud. I don't know that we have data to support that.
No doubt. Like my dad, who I wouldn't call him like the biggest NBA fan of all time, but he grew up with the Celtics and everything. Like he doesn't really watch the NBA anymore. And so there's a generational divide for sure. It definitely, the basketball is always skewed younger, but it's skewing as young as it ever has. And that might not be a great thing for the ratings. But certainly like, and even like, I don't watch the NBA outside of the Celtics in the regular season. I don't because it's the same thing. When the Celtics are doing it and they're great at it, it's easy for me to watch. But I'm not going to lie, this is going to sound really douchey, but I gained a greater appreciation for the NBA the last few years with obviously the Celtics taking that next step from being pretty good to great by really diving into some of this stuff and to like film breakdowns and kind of the strategy and analytics behind it. But to your point, it's like if you lined up a room of me and 20 other people that watch the NBA casually, I might be the only one that's like, yeah, I do watch those kinds of things. You know what I mean? No, because it's boring to a lot of people, And so that makes me sound like, oh, I'm this basketball douche. But it's like that's what's made me even appreciate it and kept me watching it, is to try and look at it through an analytical lens. And for a lot of people, and for me in most sports, it's like, I don't want to do that when I'm watching a game.
Right.
So you're right, though. It's everyone's jacking up threes. There's not a lot of, nobody knows post moves anymore because you don't need them. It feels like a lot of the traditional strategy of the game has been sucked out, and that's too bad. And the ratings are dropping. And I don't know if they'll continue to drop, but I'll say this. They owned one day a year the way the NFL owned Thanksgiving. NFL owns 16 to 25 days a year. But the NBA owned Christmas Day for sports. And now the NFL's got games on Christmas Day. Good luck. I know what I'll be doing. The ratings will be high in this house watching Texas high school football state championships on the FanDuel Sports Network, I think it is. But thank you for watching the Cam Show. It's live every day from high noon Eastern time to 1 p.m. Thank you to Scotty for jumping in there and giving some good insight there, because I don't think there's any one answer here, but I want to figure out kind of what the non-answers are and what the good answers are. And I think we went over some good ones there. Anyway, be sure to like and subscribe, leave a comment, get notified every time we're dropping a video on YouTube, and then wherever you get your podcast. We will see you tomorrow on The Cam Show.
Transform your workspace with Hanomi Ergonomics. From adjustable chairs to standing desks, we provide solutions for comfort and productivity, whether at home or in the office. Improve your posture, reduce strain, and work smarter. Visit us at hanomi.co today. That's HINOMI.co today. Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internex. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. Enjoy seamless, fast storage without compromising security. Visit Internex.com today and take control of your digital life. That's INTERNXT.com today. Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com. Tusane's, we understand that maintaining a healthy lifestyle can be challenging, especially in today's fast-paced world. That's why our mission is to make fitness accessible to everyone, anywhere. Committed to excellence, we adopt a user-centric approach guided by ergonomics and medical science. With a team of seasoned professionals in R&D, design, and manufacturing, we prioritize quality across our entire product line. Visit Tusains.com today and start your journey to better health. That's TOUSAINS.com.